saying that the shift is definitely going towards spirit-based RTDs and premium. So premium ingredients and a higher ABV. And so you're starting to see it. You're starting to see these cocktails that are coming in bottles or pouches or different things, and they're at a higher ABV as well. So, I'm still not seeing a ton of gin. So I'm happy where we're positioned right now. I feel like we're in a good position for growth.
Now, when you did land on the higher ABV, the people around you, did they kind of try to skew you back toward the lower ABV and say, hey, well, this is where the market is, and I think you might have a better success here? Or were you just dead set, like, nope, we're going to do higher ABV because that's where, I want to be?
I was dead set on it. I just don't think gin lends itself to being a lower ABV. To me, it makes zero sense. Gin equals cocktail, like a cocktail, And so to me, gin at a low ABV just doesn't make any sense. And honestly, I've had very few people who have told me that they're disappointed that my drinks are 12%. So most people are high-fiving me for it. So
fair enough. That makes sense. Yeah, no one's gonna be like, oh, I like the idea of yours, but the ABV is too high, so I can only have like half, and then I'll have maybe half the other day.
Well, or I have had people though tell me, and I'm like, fine. I'm like, great, love it. I've had some people who have said, if they've taken them to the pool or something, and they want to make them last, they'll mix it with some soda water and water them down. I'm like, great, you do you. That's great. Still going to probably taste great. Not as strong, but it still probably tastes great, and it's still real ingredients. So. I'm fine with that, whatever works for people.
Exactly. Once they buy it, they can kind of, dock it up or, water it down as much as they can, as long as they're still obviously enjoying your product.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Now, you say you're making them with real ingredients. When you're making them as, like, in mass the way you are, how do you then decide how much real ingredient or where you're getting your real ingredients from? Because you obviously then have to worry about a shortage, or is somebody going to be out of something, or I guess kind of walk us through that.
I will say that has been a challenge in general. One reason for that is realize that here I am during COVID. I have all this free time, knowing that eventually I'm going to have to go back to work full time. So I was never intending on manufacturing this myself. My intention was to have somebody else do it for me. But I couldn't find anyone to do it for me. I am self-manufacturing. I started self-manufacturing. I've continued to self-manufacture. But that was only out of necessity, honestly, because everyone I talked to wanted me to use flavorings. Not artificial flavorings. They were, quote unquote natural flavorings, which I'm still confused by that term. But, I got sent to me all the time natural flavorings. Oh, you can't do it. You can't do it. As you grow and you put it in bigger tanks, it's going to change the chemistry. And I was like, okay. I'm like, that kind of makes sense. So we started small, and we started in small tanks, and we've continued to use small tanks. We've just keep buying small tanks. We're actually about to go to a little bit larger of tanks just to help with production. But we've kind of just kept with our same method and just keep buying tanks. It works for us. And so I have had issues with not being able to get ingredients because we use real juice. It's all real juice and real honey. And so the only struggle I've had is a couple times I've had some struggles with the juice. But, that's just what happens. So sometimes, I've learned to not get too upset by it and say, you know what, so we're not going to have product for a week or two on shelves. And then we will catch back up. And, who knows, maybe that's a marketing ploy where people say there's none on the shelf and they are like, ooh, this is hard to come by. And so maybe it'll all work in the end. But so far, I haven't experienced it too severely where I've been totally freaking out. So far, so good.
just minor freakouts every other week.
The freaking is kind of daily. Just depends what I'm freaking out about. But I'll tell you, working with real ingredients is I've been that's something that I've not been willing to compromise on. I would rather be a smaller company using real ingredients than to grow to be a high noon using flavorings. You know, that's just not, that hasn't been the goal. I'd rather stay true to the product. I always say, you know, our three big things that I think separate us apart are the gin, the 12%, and the natural ingredients. People just aren't using natural ingredients. And honestly, our drinks are really tasty, but the reason that they're really tasty is because they're real ingredients. There's no flavorings. There's no eyedropper, you know, of little flavoring things being put in it. So they're really clean.
That's so awesome that you are sticking to your guns on that. And like you said, you'd rather be a smaller company than be a big company that just uses all the artificial stuff just so they can mass produce it and get it out there. Like if they want the good stuff in their body, which, you know, I think obviously more people need to be paying attention to what they're actually putting in their body. You know, make sure you're finding out if it's the real stuff or if it's that artificial stuff. And like you said, yours is the real stuff and you are, you know, dead set on keeping it that way.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting to me, you know, when I've gotten to this business, because there's so much that, I mean, actually I knew nothing when I started this, but, you know, it's interesting, and I never noticed it, that, you know, with alcohol brands, any alcohol brands, you don't have to put any, you know, ingredients or nutritional value, anything on a can or a bottle. And it's actually, you know, I called the TTB because I was arguing with them not too long ago because I wanted to put I wanted it to be like an FDA regulated, you know, nutritional facts, serving facts statement, and they wouldn't let me put everything on there. And they will only let me add carbohydrates, protein, fat, carbohydrates, protein, fat. Maybe that's it. 3 things. 3 things. And calories. Calories. So that's all you can put on it, which we put that on ours because we're proud of what's in our drinks and we're proud of our calories and carb content. And I'm like, and why hide it? So many people were asking me at tastings, how many calories, how many carbs? You know, to go to your point about healthy, I mean, I'm never going to say alcohol drinks are healthy for you, but if you're going to drink, you know, why not know what you're drinking, what you're putting in your body? So we've started adding it, and unfortunately the TTB won't let me put everything because they won't let me put how much sugar's in it. Isn't that interesting?
But there's so many companies that brag about having 0 sugar. Why would they not let you say either 0 or however many you have?
So you can put it like as a statement on your can, but you can't put it in like the nutritional value, like in like that little box on the back. I'd have to put it as a separate statement away from the box. It's weird, but those are the rules, so I have to follow them.
So if it's a statement, that doesn't actually mean that it's true, though. Like
I don't know about that.
Like,
yeah.
Okay,
well, let's face it. I don't know how much is check and balances about a lot of this.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, but we started putting ours, and so, so now it's interesting because I look at the back of cans all the time now. And so there's very few who do it. Yeah. So, but again, to your point, I mean, I think that we are in that kind of age where people are paying attention a little bit more to, you know, is it organic? How many calories in it? How many carbs are in it? You know, and I think that's fantastic, you know, and then there's other people who are like, I don't care, just give me the 12%. And I'm like, all right, exactly. I got that for you too.
You said you came into this not knowing anything. What is something, I mean, obviously, besides what we just talked about, that really kind of was eye-opening to you, and it's something that you kind of maybe went down a rabbit hole as opposed for like learning and trying to figure out everything about?
Oh my gosh, how many things could I list? I mean, starting from the very beginning, John, I didn't understand that there was a 3-tier system. I had no idea. I mean, and I don't think a lot of people understand. People ask me all the time, can I just buy my drinks from you? I'm like, no, that's not legal. So, you know, understanding that I had to have a distributor accept me before I could get onto a liquor store shelf was mind-boggling to me. And that is how I ended up self-manufacturing, because I couldn't get anybody to make the drinks on a small scale so that I could present them to a distributor. My fear was that I was going to commit all this money and time to making a bunch of drinks and nobody would accept me. And then I'd be stuck with a bunch of drinks and I'd be out a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that's why I ended up kind of doing it myself. So, all the things that go into getting approval, it's a lot of tedious work, and I did everything myself, and so that was a really good learning process. But I would say another thing that's just been kind of crazy for me to understand is it's hard being a small business, first of all, and all of the taxes and licenses and all the different things that go into running a brand is overwhelming. It really is. It's a lot of work, and there's nothing sexy about it. It's not fun. I hate it. So, I could list a lot of things that I don't like about it, and I could also list a lot of things I do love about it. So, there's that.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask, when you're starting a business and you're starting a brand the way you are, you have to create a name. You have to create a logo. You have to decide if you're going to do bottles or you're doing cans, and you have to decide, well, obviously how many SKUs you're going to have. Well, how am I going to package it once I do have them? I guess kind of how did all that kind of come together the way it did?
It's interesting. Well, we knew we wanted to do cans. I was committed on doing a squat can instead of one of the slim cans.
Okay.
Because I wanted to look different, and I wanted it to be gender neutral, and I felt like the slim cans were a little feminine, in my opinion. And the process of coming up with branding was something that just kind of evolved over time. But our cans are, I guess, not a very attractive word to use, but plain. I think they're very beautiful. They're simple, and that was on purpose. We had just a completely different idea going into this, and they were loud, and they were colorful, and they were modern, and they really were beautiful. But I did the three SKUs, and I took them to Total Wine, and I put them up on the shelf next to all the other RTDs and beers and stepped back, and I couldn't find them. They got lost because everything is so loud and colorful, and I really couldn't find them because there's so many now. And so it was that day that we completely changed our minds and went to something that looked more like a wine bottle, actually. Now that I get back to my wine roots, I started taking pictures of wine bottles, and I thought, why don't we do something that looks more simplistic and a little more elegant? And again, I think that works with Jen, something that's a little more high level looking. And so we've always said we wanted something that looked gender neutral and that would, not steal the show from your photos, your Instagram. So you can use it, put the can, while you're wearing a tux or wearing a bathing suit. It's not going to be this like loud, obnoxious thing that's kind of, destroying your picture more. It complements the photo. So that's kind of been our strategy. And our branding is we try to do very much kind of sticking with a mid-century modern kind of chic upper level type of look. We're not kind of going for that, let's take these on spring break and get crazy. I'm happy if somebody does want to do that, don't get me wrong, but that's not really who we're focusing on.
That makes sense. You heard it here first. If you want to go spring break crazy with these, she will support you.
Yeah, go for it. Yes, help me go viral. I will take it.
Well, it's funny you say that. Now I can't think of it. It's a Capriccio. Do you remember the wine Capriccio? It's a sangria. It got very popular very fast. So It is a